Yo, I come true all jiggered off. Yeah. Drop the top, babe, lift it off. Lift that. Yeah. Mr. Popular, why your phone keep ringing off? Yeah. My ting so fire, I swear she need chilling off. What? She need chilling off. Last night though, I got written off. Oh my God. I know they watch face, see the watch face ticking off. Might have to go take my girl Mykonos. Take a couple trips. Yeah. Big temper, don't piss her off. Nah, don't do that. You understand, yeah? I'll be gone till next summer. Wait for it. Young boy out the gutter. Only God can judge. Tell them fuck you.
We're here in Richmond at the rugby training ground.
Yep.
Yeah. Stephen Sulley study. As you well know, my ongoing journey and study is looking at individuals who've got the winner's mindset and seeing what they do in order to keep fit, strong, and keep yourself focused. I've got my guest here, Mel Deane, Irish rugby player, used to play for Harlequins. I'm going to let him explain his background, but thank you for putting me through that training session, and thank you for your time.
No problem. Good to see you.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, my name is Mel Deane. I was 13 years as a professional rugby player for Richmond here initially. That was my first contract, and I was in Sale when Jason Robinson came over to play rugby union, and so there was a bit of hype up there. I was in Harlequins and I was in Connacht, which is in the west of Ireland as well, when I finished my career.
Okay.
But I'm now retired 10 years, and now I train various people like Sulley here and put them through their paces, and I have a couple of high profile clients that everybody seems to know them, but I'm normally the moron laughing in the background on the video. But yeah, I love it. I love my job, and I love putting people to the cross.
You definitely done that for me earlier. So as I mentioned, Mel, before we started, this is like a 3-part episode.
Yes.
So training with you.
Yes.
Background is rugby, professional level. Then I'm going to be training with a track athlete, so I'm going down to Crystal Palace, you probably know it,
yes.
and training on the track there and going for a training session in a podcast. And then finally I'm going to be training with British champion Bradley Skeet, and I'm going to be sparring him, doing pads, and then going into a podcast. And the mission behind that is to see what common traits all the athletes have.
Yes.
No matter whether you're a rugby player, runner or a boxer,
Yes.
there's always that will to win. But then what actually makes you different, and what kind of training routines or sessions that you both put yourself through.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of a taste earlier, and I've got to say I was on the verge of collapsing. That's probably because I also sparred this morning as well. So just walk me through exactly what we were doing there.
Well, today I generally put something dynamic at the start of a session when you're all fresh and have lots of energy, and you should be at your most powerful ideally. So a dynamic element just to get your heart rate up as well, and then we do something strength based, which would be whether it be a lower body push and an upper body pull is what we did today, and then following that superset we did a lower body pull on your deadlift, and then an upper body press with the with your floor press, and then we did our prowler there, so it was a little bit of engine. So I keep the heart rate ticking over, and because I like all my clients to be able to run, punch, lift, pull, push, just be an athlete, you know, to be able to do everything well.
Yeah, my boxing trainer, and shout out to Charlie Beat from Light to Box, he always says when you train for a purpose.
Yes.
So what that kind of means, I guess, is when you're doing something, have a reason behind it.
Yes.
So with me, it's going to be boxing. So why am I doing a certain exercise? Get more power, get more
Yes.
agility, speed, recovery. Could be anything.
Yes.
I guess in rugby, it's going to be kind of the same. And some of the stuff that you put me through, there's going to be a purpose behind it.
Yeah. Well, there's no one situation necessarily in a rugby game that can ever be the same. Whether you're hit from what angle you're hit from, whether you're over a ball, making a tackle, trying to defend the tackle. You know, there's so many different aspects. So your full range, you have to be strong in all angles, all directions, and that's what hopefully we attack that when we're in the gym. You know, so yeah, that's what I aim to do anyway.
Yeah. So I had a brief conversation with you earlier. So you're not from London, you're from Ireland.
Yes.
Whereabouts again?
Longford. It's the centre of Ireland. It's 75 miles from Dublin and 65 from Galway. Country bumpkin. I grew up there. Even though I was born in London, I was back there just at 1 year old, and then came back to England at 13.
Right. Okay.
So a bit of a traveller.
Yeah. As I mentioned, my granddad was from Ireland. I went there the last couple of years to County Mayo.
Yeah.
We spoke about that.
The West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lovely people, beautiful place. I really enjoyed my time over there. One thing that stands out for me about the Irish is you probably hear this a lot, their heart.
Yeah.
You know, when they go into a situation, boxers, rugby players, Conor McGregor from the UFC,
Yeah.
they've all got that common thing, which is heart. I mean, is that like a culture from your background, or is it because of something? Why do you think they've got that?
Well, you would say that the Irish were always suppressed by the English, basically, and which was, but that's where you went. Even though you sound like a Londoner, you went down well in the West. But years ago, you mightn't have gone down so well there, because when England came and invaded Ireland, and everyone was sent to the west of Ireland, which wasn't necessarily a productive part of Ireland because of the ground and rocks everywhere in the ground. It's not a great place for agriculture, the west of Ireland. Even though it's so beautiful, it wasn't great to feed yourself. You understand what I mean? But so I think there's that dogged, we've been suppressed for so long, they fight back.
Yeah,
you know?
It's almost like a bit like the underdog kind of mentality.
Massively. The Irish, if they're put favourites or something, it's not a good thing at all. But if you say they'll never win, really?
Yeah.
Then you have every chance they get their backs up and they'll come back at them. You know what I mean? That's definitely I feel that's an Irish thing anyway. But when I went to Ireland from England, my friends there knew that I was born in England, and then, oh, you're English, really, you're English. But then when I came back to England at school at 13, people here would say, you're Irish, obviously because of my accent.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Paddy this, or Irish this, or Irish that, which I got in a couple of fights about. But if you get the name of an early riser, you can lie in bed all day. That means if someone said something to me, I would be aggressive. Yeah. And then people don't say anything to him, you know.
Yeah.
So and good job I don't drink because of that aggressive temper as well. But I've calmed down an awful lot. I'm a very nice man.
It must be to do with training, and we were talking earlier. Like I'm thankfully got a few businesses myself, and I always say to people when they ask me for business advice, even though I'm not like a business like juggernaut or a tycoon yet, I'm still early in my
Thank you.
I'm still early in my sort of business life.
Yes.
What I do know is I always say to people the first thing that you need to get right before you think about any business strategy or anything like that is to get healthy, and that's going to be down to your training. It's going to be down to your nutrition.
Sure.
So you being a former pro and also having your own business now, because you are an entrepreneur, how important do you think it is to have nutrition and your training intact?
Well, that's always been my thing. I trained like a professional long before I was a professional, and all the pals, I'd have played rugby with lads that were far more skillful than me. They're better passers, kickers, quicker steppers, whatever their talent lay. They mightn't necessarily have had as much dog as I had, that would refuse to take a backward step or to come second best in any particular situation. I always wanted to win any confrontation, whether I was going into a tackle or making a tackle. I wanted to be a horrible person to
You were
play
committed.
against. I was committed. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. I think if you would have played against me, you'd definitely
would have known about
know that you're playing against me. Yeah. Even actually, there was one player I played against, and we had a mutual friend at meet, and he said, "Oh, I used to hate playing against Mel. I'd have to run down the channel and be like, oh no, Mel's going to..." And he was a monster. He was like a Jonah Lomu. Every time only his name is monster of a human. I was like, shit, I'm going to tackle this savage. But I used to love it. I used to love the challenge, you know.
Good. Well, I feel like training definitely is an outlet for emotion, also a bit of the anger, sometimes frustration.
Definitely.
No matter whether you're in business, whether you've got a family, we're all going to come across moments where things get a little bit challenging. And I think eating the right things and training regularly is going to help you keep yourself level-headed.
Absolutely.
So a bit about your background, Mel. I know obviously we spoke about rugby, we spoke about you being from Ireland and stuff, but where did that transition where you thought, right, out of school, I want to become an athlete? Where did that come from?
Well, I used to watch Superstars as a youngster and say, I want to be a superstar.
What superstar?
Superstars? What? No, my God, it's an old. Oh my God, you look that up. Superstars used to be athletes from different areas, different sports, like athletics. Where there'd be boxers involved, there'd be decathletes involved, there'd be all like legends of their particular field would compete in various events, and obviously the runners would do better in the engine orientated stuff, but it was great. I loved them. Brian Jacks used to do all the dips and he was powerful looking, and my mum was into fitness and my dad loved the boxing, and I just wanted to be fit and strong. And yeah, I actually liked people saying be wary of him, because I could fight and I could play and I was hard enough as a youngster. I liked that. Yeah. A little fear factor, if you know what I mean.
You know what? As you're saying that, there was a Irish lad at my school called Tyrone, and me and him were like, he was shorter than me but stocky, had the perfect kind of rugby build.
Yes.
And very, very strong lad, stronger than me. But me and him were always at each other because we wanted to be dubbed as the hardest kid in the year.
Yes.
And when you just said about you like that kind of being branded, that rough, ready, kind of boisterous kind of person, in actual fact, that's what me and him used to thrive off as well. We used to wanted to get the brownie points that, he's the toughest, or he's done this, he's done that. And I kind of understand what you mean there. Like when you're kind of rubber stamp this kind of individual, you've got a certain level to live up to.
Definitely. I would 100% agree with that. And because I was overweight as a youngster, I used to eat sweets to the band playing. I mean, I was a fat little turnip. And
gave you a good foundation though to get strong.
but I was honestly, I was on a bike. I'd cycle 2 miles to school. I'd cycle back at lunch, I'd cycle 2 miles back into school. I was running, sprinting. I used to actually, this is a bit gross, but I used to have sores on my ears here from the constant sweat that would be on my earlobes. That's how much I was always training, running, cycling, but I was eating a truckload of shit food. Too heavy by a mile. And we were training one night, rugby training, and somebody said, you fat something or another. And I kind of turned around and went, what? And then back in the day, you remember you did the old pushing. He pushed me. I was in on top of him, and I was like, argh! And I burst his nose, and everyone was like, stay away from him. And that was the first. That was your revert to. This is when they stay away from you, and that's when you got respect for the first time, really, as me on my own. Obviously, I was still only a child. I was only 8, 9, but I got
the recognition.
That. Yeah, I like that, to be honest. But
good stuff.
Wasn't really maybe a good thing, but it was my rubber stamp of this is me. Yeah.
Good stuff. Many athletes I've interviewed Anton, as you well know, Ferdinand, O'Hara Davis. I've interviewed a guy called Robbie Lloyd-Taylor, another pro boxer, and I've got plenty of others that I'm about to interview. One thing I like to speak about is when you was at school.
Yes.
So how did you perform at school in regards to like grades and stuff? Because the reason why I'm asking this is because I want to prove to the younger demographic that I think try hard at school and try and do your best. I wasn't very good at school, but my teachers used to say to me, if you don't get good grades, you're never going to amount to nothing. Literally used to say that. And I think that's really bad advice. And I'm just curious, not that I actually know about your school grades or anything, but how was you?
How do you know about my school grades?
Sorry.
No, I was not good at school.
Okay.
No, and And I went to university, but I did the bare minimum.
Okay.
The absolute bare minimum to get by, because that wasn't what I was interested in. Although when I went towards biology and the mechanics, the biomechanics of the human, that's when I kind of went, hang on, I enjoy this. This is something that's me.
Yeah.
But all the stuff before, and my daughter Grace is very, very worried currently doing mock GCSEs now about, I have to get this right and I have to mock GCSEs. I think, mock GCSEs, darling, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Just calm. She won't go out, she wants to study. That's not me at all.
Yeah.
But, you know, it doesn't, whatever decision you make away from, whether it be studying or working, whatever decision you make it the best decision, because you have that mindset that I'm going to make this the best I can be for. Whether I'm playing at a team that's shite initially, he's the best lad at that team, then you go to another team. You know what I mean? But you make the best of whatever situation you have every time. That would be my advice to my girls. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not one to like completely like not the government or not the school system, but I do think it needs to be upgraded slightly. And I think that sometimes when they say, if you don't get good grades, you're not going to really do too much, or you can't get a good job. I think sometimes that if you don't get good grades, it makes you a bit more resourceful to become really, really excellent at something. And you're clearly testament to that.
Yes.
You know, you're turning yourself into not just a rugby player. You represented your country. You represented some of the top rugby teams, you know, out there. Yes. So on that note, who did you play for?
Well, I played for Richmond here as a first professional when money first came into rugby. And there was lots of names. If you're old school rugby players were here, very, very good outfit here. I played for Harlequins, I played for Sale Sharks, and I played for Connacht, which is in the west of Ireland.
Okay.
But played with legends, played with absolute legends, and some top men. And because rugby is, I know everyone, when you play sport and a team game, everyone becomes very camaraderie wise, but rugby for me, if you saw another teammate putting themselves on the line, and because it's so physical and it's so dangerous, if you saw someone melt another opponent, like destroying someone, putting themselves at risk, that gets respect, immediate respect, because he's doing that for the team, and then he's a good lad. He look after us, and that's what, because it's. I know you say you're not going to war, but you're going to war.
Yeah.
You give it everything, because you can break yourself left, right, and centre in the game. But that's how. I know the inches speech from any given Sunday is a little bit hardcore, but it is. It's the fella who's willing to die to get that extra inch that it's going to be successful. Yeah. And if you throw yourself into whatever it may be at 100%, that's when you win the collisions and you prosper. Yeah. For me, anyway, that would be me.
You said something earlier about committing. So, like when you go into a tackle, you really commit.
Yeah.
It's a life lesson, isn't it? Because anything you do, and I know some people say it, but you've got to be in the moment and you've got to commit. Whatever you're doing, whether it's having a conversation, whether it's training, whether it's playing with your team, whether it's with your family, your kids, you've got to commit and you've got to be in the moment. And I remember reading Sir Alex Ferguson's book and also hearing some interviews from him. And he said that when a player needs to go into a tackle, they really got to commit, because if they half commit, they end up getting injured themselves. They've got to fully commit. 100%. And my boxing trainer says, if someone's head's here, you're not looking to hit their head, you're looking to hit back of their head. Doesn't mean going around, it means through. Literally punch through. And I would imagine when you're learning to take someone out, melt them, as you say, you're looking to go completely through that person and commit.
Oh, that's 100%. We see how that's how I played. That is exactly how I played. And if there's someone going to tackle me, I am going to run over the top of you, and it's going to be horrible to tackle me. You're going to feel something hard, and they're going to go like this the next time.
In a cripple.
Well, I don't know, but I enjoyed that collision. That's why I still play invitation games and an odd game here for the heavies here in Richmond. There's an older team, over 35s. I'm 44, and all these younger fellas, they can step. I'm like, geez, if they step, it's hard to get them. But run at me all day long.
You're flattening them.
I'll tear into them, because I don't have the speed at all anymore. But it's if they think they can run over the top of me, I kind of this is gonna be fun. Yeah.
Do you know, going back to the Irish sort of culture, and I hear it from, I'm a big boxing fan and slightly UFC, more boxing,
Yeah.
but obviously Conor McGregor is someone else.
Legend, yeah.
I mean, even if you're not into UFC or boxing, when you listen to him, even if you're in business or even if you want to be the best father or mother, you listen to that guy speak and he speaks with conviction, you know, and he's committed with everything he does.
Yes.
And I can actually feel in his words and in your words, like when you say something, you actually mean it, which I fucking love because it gets me going. I want to go and play rugby with these guys now. So yeah, going back to team members, there was a good life lesson there as well, which is identify people that are willing to go that extra mile with you.
Yeah.
And I think that whether you're husband, wife, business partner, investment partner, joint venture partner, or whoever, rugby partner, it's so important that you identify that person who's got the same mission as you. Would you say that's kind of true in other parts of your life as well, Mel?
Yes, there's. I remember seeing something on the internet about be with a pride that are going in your direction, and there was like lots of lions all looking that direction, and that would resonate with what you've just said there. That if people are all going that direction, you're drawn along. Because when I played for Wasps when I was only 16 as an underage. I was at Wasps for 5 years, and I was around Lawrence Delalio and Andy Gomersall and a whole lot of England boys then when I was young, and that set me on the track. I mightn't have been the most talented or the most dynamic or any of those things, but I was determined and I loved it. I loved the fact that was my domain. And when the whistle blew, that was it. In the moment, I'm shit at planning, I've got to say. I'm terrible at planning things, but in the here and now, I like living in the here and now. That was playing, that was.
So you go on like when it's like when suddenly the whistle goes, you go on like kind of instinct, like what people say, beast mode.
Yeah.
You literally turn into that lion, and you're ready to go out there and attack.
I love that.
Yeah. What's it like? Talk to me about the culture in like a dressing room rugby, because I played football. I played rugby for my school, but this is many years ago. And as you well know, I'm more into my boxing. And boxing, bit of a lonely sport because you're the only one in that ring. Of course, you've got your corner. Of course, you've got your coach. But when you're out there, it's just you and that other person. Yeah. So maybe the culture there is slightly different, even though you're both. It's quite both aggressive sports.
Yes.
But what's it like going back into that changing room? Talk to me about Harlequins of the Wasp. Then you're in that changing room. You might be down at half time. What's that like?
You go back in. Just self-belief. Actually, at Wasps and at Quins when we were going well, you had look around. You had players around you that were like world-class players, and you'd be down points or whatever, but you'd know that it's all to play for. You do this week in, week out, and and when the young lads would be coming through, I would say, and they come back and say things after years. Which actually, you tend people say the things that come back to you, like lads at Sale that were young fellas that had their first professional contract, and the first day of pre-season. One of the lads, Dean Schofield, was a legend for Sale and went to France, and a superb player. But as a second rower, he wouldn't be maybe recognised that much, but was an absolute grafter. And then he put on weight, to get bigger and stronger, and he played so well all through his career. But at the first morning after his first day as a professional, he sat on the bike. I remember in Total Fitness in the gym, and because he was 6'6", he was trying to get his leg onto the bike, and he couldn't bend his knee to get it on the bike because he was so goosed from the day before, destroying himself. And I said, Scoey, you're going to be grand. You're going to be a great professional, because I know you put yourself on the line immediately. You balls out the first day, and only maybe 5 years ago, after it was a 10-year anniversary of us winning the European Championship or whatever, he said to me, Mel, on that first week as a professional, you said to me that I was going to be grand because I knew I worked really hard, and that stay with me forever. And I was like, a passing comment to a younger lad might have seemed nothing to me at the time, but because I was a regular first teamer then, he looked up to me, and it like got it to his heart, and he kept it, and he said, I'm going to be all right. And You know,
resonated.
Yeah, all that. For that to come back out years later and me not even think about what I'm saying, it was a great thing to hear. You know, that even though I think I'm just a clown and you know, and have crack with the rugby lads, some things stuck. You know what I mean? Which is
we were talking about like social media earlier, a bit of a paradox between promoting yourself but sometimes you get pulled into it. I speak to all my guests about it, but when I look at Instagram, I try and have little hits and look at pages where it like really inspires me. So anyone training, you know, some of the celebrities, I think it's fantastic when they're training, but then also the quotes. And it said, there was one I read recently which was, you need to keep on doing what you're doing as a positive person because you don't realise who you're inspiring. And it's true. There are people out there, maybe younger generation or people that have been through challenges, and they're actually pulling a lot of positivity and inspiration from you. And what you just said there is so true. There are going to be people that look up to you as a rugby player, as a professional, but as just as a positive human being. And I think that's why it's so important to. I try and live by this one thing: put out to the world what you want to receive back.
Yes.
And I just think it's some basic advice which I was told by someone, and if you can just remember it and remain that positive person even in your darkest days, I think you're going to get it back.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it was a surprise to me for him to say those things. I was like a bit choked up. I didn't realise that would be in someone's makeup, and because I used to look after the younger lads, like they were just in the team, and I knew maybe they'd be pinpointed then as a maybe weakness and people would want to run over them, so I'd have to do a little bit of their tackling, you know what I mean? But hey, but they do things for me and I do things for them, so you know, it swings and roundabouts. But it's a great game. I love it.
Going back to the team mentality, and let's just talk about rugby players, and I would say rugby players and certainly the boxers, pro boxers I've been around, maybe UFC fighters. Go on.
Yeah, actually, you're talking about boxing. One of the lads that plays here at Richmond, big unit, 6'4", lump, did a white collar boxing because I was doing some pad work with one of the lads for a bit of conditioning, you know. Right. And he said, Mel, I do one of those white collar boxing, you know. He said, I love the aggression, I love the confrontation, but he said for me it was too much of an emotional roller coaster. He said with a team game like rugby, you can go back, you all right? Yeah, you're all right. What are we going to do? We're going to do more of this, less of that. Get up in the line and you chat about it and you're grand. But he said I had the fight, 3 rounds, three 2-minute rounds. He said I was destroyed. I went out, finished it. There was still fights going on. I phoned my mum and mum said, are you all right? He said, yeah, mum, I'm okay. And then he put the phone down to his mum and he went. he said he cried for about 2 minutes. He's like, which, you know, the emotional, because it's so instinctive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm surviving.
Yeah, it is survival. Yeah. Because I've got to be honest. I mean, you know, when you're in the heat of the moment of a fight, it will play through your mind that person is not pulling their punches. They're there to really hurt you. They're there to try and put you down, really. Yes. And if it can put you down, they're going to really, really hurt you. And you know, because that's coming at you, you've got to kind of fight fire with fire. Yes. It's the only way to do it.
That's very true. Very true.
And you've got to have that attitude for it. And I think if you're competing in no matter what profession, whether it's rugby, football, boxing, whatever, you've got to have that attitude, which is, I'm on stage now, I'm in the ring, I'm on the pitch, I've got to perform and I've got to give it everything I've got. Yes. I've got to be committed again. Yes. And speaking about commitment, I've got to mention it. Guys are out of camera now, but men, females in the background training at this rugby sports centre, and one of the ladies is pregnant and they're cracking on. I mean, it's amazing to see, and that is testament to the fact that when you've got the right attitude and you want to achieve, nothing will get in your way, not even pregnancy, which I love. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. So you mentioned something earlier about rugby getting, when the money started coming into it.
Yes, that's my first professionalism, yes.
Yeah, I was speaking to Anton, who was just on my podcast about money in football. I don't know the difference as far as like money's concerned, like with rugby and football. Is there a big difference? Is
difference, it? Yes, absolutely savage difference.
And was there ever like a thing like where people used to talk about in rugby, thinking how come we don't get maybe as much, or was it never really spoken about?
Yeah, it was spoken, but obviously it's so popular, football all over the world. Now rugby is fairly popular, but it's still exorbitant amounts of money for the footballers, you know. and if you watch like some of the games as a completely impartial person, as a rugby player, and then a footballer, you say, geez, these lads need to get paid a bit more if they're munching into each other all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
because it's more, I would personally say it's more dangerous and more life-threatening.
Yes,
but you get paid less for it.
Yes, you do.
And it's a bit of a crazy thing to think about.
Yes.
But in some ways, and I want to float this towards you, like if you're getting paid more money and it's kind of easy come, easy go almost, and you're getting paid still well as a rugby player, surely actually it might serve you better because you're going to have to think about your future, about how to invest it properly. And part of my podcast, I want to educate people who are in school currently, people coming out of school for the first time, about financial education, because not enough of it is given. I mean, I wasn't given financial education, and it's quite easy that when you start earning even a bit of money, just to spunk it on things that you don't really need to spend it on. So I think it's so important to get that education, that mindset from an early age.
Are you thinking about spunking money on like Air Jordans? Is that what you're thinking about spunking money on?
Honestly, if I showed you my wardrobe, I've got so many bloody fuckers in there, and I just don't wear hardly any of them. But I thought this was a special occasion,
they are
so
snazzy,
I thought,
those ones.
But I mean, is it something that when you was playing, thinking about, you know, what like you're going to make that transition from being a pro and making your money there, but now afterlife? Did you ever think about like financial planning and that kind of stuff?
At the time, no. A couple of fellas had investment schemes and things like that, but not really. You just wanted to play your rugby at the time, and obviously, my granny used to say, "Youth is wasted on the young." And that is so true, because if I knew back then what I know now, you'd definitely put more time into your after rugby.
Yeah.
You know, you're after your career. But luckily, I fell on my feet I stayed in contact with all the people that were here at Richmond, and we became friends when I was playing here. And then when I went all the years that I played away and then came back, they said we have you as a strength and conditioner here, because that's what I was angling towards. I was either going to be a publican, like my dad manages pubs, or I was going to go into the fitness and train people, and so I went for the more healthy lifestyle, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, good man.
And because I trained people as a youngster, at 14 I trained, because the people would see me training all the time, and they said, my daughter's going to be in the police cadets, can you train her, because she has to pass the test for the cadets and whatnot. So it started at 14, training people. And I've been doing it ever since, really. Even though I was a professional player, I love training.
Yeah.
Even when it was the pre-season, you're meant to have like 6 weeks off, or I'd have a week off and then back in the gym.
Yeah.
Back enjoying lifting. You know, that's my thing.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
So I got to meet you via Rio Ferdinand, and I obviously know Anton. He was on my podcast, and we were chatting about all kinds of stuff about his career, mindset, winning, finances, to do with like. The reason why I touched on finances because he says that the football hasn't been the players haven't been given enough financial education, and he wants to change that later on, which I think is a great goal to have.
Yeah.
But Rio obviously made that transition from being a football star into, well, he's got loads of stuff going on, but like being a football pundit for like BT Sports. Was that ever a thing that you were going to go into like rugby, being a pundit on
no,
TV?
I maybe wasn't high profile enough for that malarkey, but no, I did a few bits on radio, but no, I'm not a pundit. But I do enjoy seeing the boys go well on there, and you know, send them a text message, try and mess them up. But it's always good to see the people doing well post rugby, you know.
Yeah. So you're training people now, like the likes of Rio. Who else would you say some of your favourite clients who are push themselves to the limits?
Kirsty, I train Kirsty Gallagher. She, everyone seems to like my posts of her.
Yeah.
I've trained a lot of people along the way. Everyone likes it. I trained Chris Hemsworth a few times.
Cool.
Actually, Nick Frost is only just started training with me, but he's great. He's very funny. You have to. It's tough. I always want to be the funniest person in the room, but it's tough when he's there. I've got to say, because he is funny. I asked him to get a heart rate monitor in case I was pushing him over the edge during a session. You know, I want to keep him in the parameters of he's recovering enough, but I'm pushing him, but I'm not absolutely destroying him. And he had the heart rate monitor on the first session. He had it, and I said, Nick, can you tell me what you're reading at the moment? And he went, surely 4 figures isn't right. And I was like, what? But geez, I didn't want to kill a fucking client. That would be a disaster.
You nearly fucking killed me earlier. Make sure you only get the good bits on the video, all right? I've got to look my best.
Don't worry. You did well. You did very well. You did very well. Don't worry about that at all.
I'll definitely be back here though and have some of that. I want to fight maybe in September, October.
Do you?
Yeah. So I haven't fought since 2013. So I like to have another couple goes at it before I hang up the gloves. So
nice.
I'll be definitely back down there and pushing that bloody the sleigh
up
again.
And down.
Yeah.
And pushing.
Horrible, mate.
Down and ups are miserable.
I tasted blood.
Did you really?
I felt like I did. So apart from training yourself, training clients, what else you get up to in your spare time?
See, I do a lot of work, if I'm honest. I train a lot. I like to walk my dog, Ruby. She's a Rhodesian Ridgeback. She's great fun. And my daughters are
amazing.
Are legends, yeah. So yeah, I generally try and embarrass them at every opportunity. I think it's every father's rite of passage, isn't it?
You've got to do it.
And a couple of clients have a few nice cars and they lend me the cars. And I remember one of them has an i8. And I said to Gracie, I'm dropping you off, darling. She was like, yeah, Dad. I said, Gracie, put down the window there, darling. We'll put the music up. And she's like, Dad, drop me off. just to make her a bit embarrassed. I love it.
Good stuff. Yeah. And travel a bit? Did you ever travel with rugby?
Rugby, yeah. I was in New Zealand and France and Italy and all that kind of stuff. But when I get currently the Dubai Sevens, I go to most years. I was in for the Legends, Irish Legends 15 in Bermuda. There's a classics tournament in Bermuda every year. What a crack that was. So rugby still gets me places, which is terrific.
I know the Irish are tough people, but bar the Irish, who would you say are really, really tough? Because you must have played against them all. So obviously the All Black side. When I look at them on TV, I think, fuck, they look a bit scary. Yeah. Who would you say is up there with some of the toughest, roughest, biggest attitude players that you've ever come across?
Attitude, I don't know. I wouldn't say attitude would be an issue, but there was a winger from New Zealand that was called Vaiga Tuigamala, and they used to call him Inga the Winger, and he was the original Lomo, if you know what I mean. He was a Samoan runaway train. Oh my God. If you took a pass in the game, if he was playing at 12 opposite little me, against this 18 stone Samoan
powerhouse.
Oh my God. But he'd go like, if he took a pass and he did this, it's all right, he's going to pass. Take the pass like this, he's going to release it. As soon as he looks, he lets it go. Some players would take it on and then let it go. He would do this and pass, or he would do this and do this. And if he looks at you and you go, oh the Jesus, he's coming, and you couldn't go high on him at all. You see stars, you just go down on his shins, and he'd go over, because he can't bump you then, and you'd be a speed bump basically for him. But he was a powerhouse. I saw stars every time I hit him. So but I wasn't as heavy as I ended up being, but that's when I was a young professional. I used to hit him with everything I had, and I just like boing and bounce off him.
Won't move.
Oh,
and we spoke earlier about injuries and stuff. I'm always quite fascinated to hear about them, because I speak to boxers all the time about their ones, but they're almost quite the obvious ones.
Yes.
But with rugby, you can get hit everywhere.
Yes.
So what kind of things have you been through? What's your most severe stuff that you've gone through?
Broken, dislocated, broken, cauliflower ear, back, protruding disc that was shaved. Otherwise, I've been very lucky. Yeah. Very lucky. I was actually, that would be a boxing element to it. I was knocked out 3 games on the trot.
Christ.
And the last one I was out for like 7 minutes. And but when they tested my hydration levels after that and stopped the chiropractor hypermobilizing me, because I would fire myself into a tackle after being mobilized, and it just shut me down. Yeah. And I'd be like on the. But I went to see Professor Hamlin, who was the doctor who looked after Michael Watson when Michael Watson had the brain injury.
Funny enough, I'm very close about getting him on my podcast.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
He was very good. He
friend
was
of mine.
very good. I'd had brain scans and he looked after me, and he said one time, I went to a fundraiser for Michael Watson, and he said, and the fundraiser was for someone to pick the best knockout of the, and he said, we're going to a fundraiser about a fella who was knocked out, trauma to his brain, and that's part of the competition that's on the night. He said it was a strange one, but he was a very good surgeon, doctor. Yeah, so I was in good hands.
It must be a given, like especially a sport like that. You're going to get injured.
Yes.
You must see people all the time. I mean, what have you seen? You must have seen some really horrible injuries.
A couple of breaks, dislocation shoulders, knees. Yeah. The pain, when you hear a squeal like that, then you go, oh,
yeah,
don't like to hear that.
Yeah.
But that's what the conditioning is about, really.
Yeah.
I know there's some of the soft tissue injuries you can't stop, or if your foot's placed somewhere and you're hit from a bad angle, but generally that's why you're trying to be strong. You're trying to be able to absorb damage.
Yeah.
Absorb compact trauma, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you're getting melted. Even if you're over a ball, what's happening a lot now is lads are trying to pinch a ball and people are coming in and destroying shoulders. So it's a choice of whether am I going to be able to pinch the ball, or am I just going to leave it and be in the game?
Yeah.
I think it's going to go like that a lot.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of the game.
I know this is going to be a bit of a broad question, but what makes, like, almost not perfect but an ideal rugby player? What would you say like the top 3 components are?
A Samoan would be your first one. Well, they actually have thicker skulls. They
Really?
have thicker skulls. They're built for rugby. They are built, and they're munching people. And they actually, when they score or whatever, it's like, yeah, he scored, but you got smashed. They're not interested in the try so much as in all the Samoan
They want you
lads,
to be hurt.
Yeah. Oh, you got smashed. They love that though. Boom. A perfect rugby player would have to be cool under pressure, powerful, and aggressive.
Nice. The attitude for it. So just a couple more things then, Mel. So 5-10 years from now, obviously you're building up your business here, your clientele. What are your goals and your vision for the future?
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm actually in the middle of that. What do I do for the next step? Do I get a gym of my own? Or do I go online and program people? But I like to actually see people. That's my thing. I like to really see how you move. When you were lifting there, you can squat well. I could ram the squats into you. Deadlift well, just a little bit posturally. I'd pull your shoulders back. I'd be always hammering at you for your shoulders to be back if I was training you regularly. But I don't get to see that. If someone says to me, can you send me a program? What does Rio do? What does Kirsty do? Can you send me a generic program? And I kind of want to see your, nearly like a functional movement test in the first session, and then we go from there. And I don't know how I could really do that unless people send me videos of various lifts and whatnot. But maybe that's the way forward. I don't know, but that is a work in progress. Literally, currently, I've been asking people, what would my unique selling point be to you, and what would you say? And they say, oh well, you nearly nail us, but we're enjoying it, but the session goes quickly. But I said, how do I put that down on I can't say that on an app. I nearly bollocks them, but I don't. They're destroyed, but they're not. How do I quantify that? It's not a tangible thing for me to grab a hold of to say, this is what I do for somebody, but I have good results. If you look at people that I train, they're athletes. After a period of time being with me, they have a good base. I don't know what I'd be able to say. I don't know that's what I'm trying to figure out currently, and I'm going to see actually a few people in the next couple of weeks for that.
Maybe it's like identifying who your demographic you actually really want to pin down. Because you could train anybody and get them really, really fit, but maybe you want to target a specific audience. I'll give you an example. I've got a property company with my missus, and we do HMOs, which is called House of Multiple Occupation. So we buy a house, bit run down, do it up. We put en suites in every single room, and we our vision is to let them to a professional demographic. So that would be doctors, nurses, that would be accountants, that would be people that might be, I don't know, small businesses and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And my mentor said, who was Rob Moore, who actually got a podcast as well in a big property company, he said, get very clear on the type of tenant or demographic you're looking to get your rooms to.
Yes.
So then I started thinking, okay, that makes complete sense. And every other kind of thing I've gone into is to be clear about your demographic who you're trying to pitch. So I don't know if that actually helps.
No, I hear you.
And what you've done with Rio, I mean, he was obviously an athlete anyway, but he went from a very slender kind of individual to this fucking lump. I mean, he ain't far off Anthony Joshua now.
He's 103 kgs and started at 83, so...
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But he's got terrific genes.
Yeah.
His dad, have you met his dad?
I have, yeah. We watched the Anthony Joshua fight against Parker.
Did you?
Yeah.
Together. Well, if you see the dad, you look at Rio when he's doing curls, whatever, his dad is the same arms as him, but he's shorter than Rio, so he looks powerful. Like, he's 62, and he would do 4 sets of 10 chins. Tell me how many 62-year-olds would do 4 sets of 10 chins?
Oh,
None.
Yeah.
I mean, he would be... So Rio's genetics are exceptional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to round this off then, so any bit of advice that you give anyone who's getting into rugby for the first time, or maybe wants to be an athlete?
Wants to be an athlete. Even if you're a rugby player, I'd want them to be an athlete first. I'd like to be able to run, balls of the feet, no heel striking. It's funny when we do drills with people here, and I ask them to do some skips, like an athlete would do, and they're running, then they jog back on their heels, and I say, just tell me how many races do you think are won by people running on their heels? And they go, none.
Yeah.
Oh, so why are you running on your heels?
Yeah.
You know, just simple things like that. And they say, oh, nobody ever told me that. The simple movement literacy from this size, if you can get kiddie winkles to run better, they're going to be better footballer, rugby players, boxers, all of that, because that's how you're meant to be.
Yeah.
You know, movement literacy, I would like to be able to be elevated by everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. What's your best moment of, maybe, it doesn't have to be your career or throughout your life, what do you think one of the best moments that you've had so far?
Career best moment? Jesus, that's a toughie. Best moment, maybe meeting my daughter for the first time, Grace. Smelling my daughter. That smell, when I smelled my daughter for the first time, I knew that I was an animal, because it went into my soul, and it said, protect at all costs. You die for them then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then. That's why the humans have done so well, because everything else you will protect. Everyone, I murder everybody to make her be okay. You know, that's an animal. That is an animal. It's in there. And I smelled that, I was like, it was unbelievable. And then I drove away. I remember going training the first time after that, and then I played Stevie Wonder, Isn't She Lovely, which is actually about his daughter. It was written about it. Isn't she lovely? Yeah. Isn't she wonderful? I can't believe what God has done through life. Through love, he's given life to one. Isn't she lovely, made from love? I was like, but that's an amazing moment.
And on the flip side, it was maybe some of your most challenging moments throughout your career or life or whatever.
What would be my most challenging? Oh, Jesus. Rugby injuries, when you're down and you think, I don't know if I'm going to be all right. He's as bad as it is. Like the head injuries, I got knocked out so many times. Are you going to be able to continue playing? Oh, Jesus, how am I going to earn money? What am I going to do? I haven't done enough in the background to be able to stop now. You know, that worry is massive, especially when you have a child or dependents. When it's just you get by.
Yeah.
When you have a dependent, I think that when you have a child, you're just having your new dad. For me, there was an extra 35%, 40% of me for everything. You have to get up at 5 in the morning. Yeah. I was up at 10 to 4 this morning to be at Rio's for 5. I was like, whatever, I got to earn. That's to get up, go, work, graft.
Do whatever it takes.
Yeah, do whatever it takes.
Wicked.
Very much.
I always leave my podcast with my catchphrase, which is be happy, never content. I've explained it so many times on my podcast, but rather than me explain it, if I were to say that to you, what is your interpretation of be happy, never content?
you're always a work in progress. You can add to what you are, always. Be happy with how you are currently, but add to it. Put more strings to your bow. That's how I would interpret what you said.
Good man. Mel, nice one, bro.
Nice one.
Thank you very much,
indeed.
and thank you for having me.
No
We're at
problem.
Richmond. We're at a live training ground. We've got planes flying over us. We've got Mimbosa capturing the moment. Training. It's been amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
God bless.
Try and paint your pictures of me. Ain't no red left, ain't no red left. Try and paint your pictures of me.